So I guess we need to talk about the big elephant in the room, Aquaman. So next on the DCEU moving forward, Aquaman. Let's get it. So Aquaman, this might be a real short one. Not much to say. I mean, even though it has one big film, the biggest issue I think that Aquaman has is the fact that it's out of sync in terms of, to me, if you ask me, it's the Marvel of the DCEU. Very Marvel, very not taken serious, more focused on the I won't say it's lighter tone because it's still shot in that darker tone, but it's taking more on a Disney, more like an adventure story, but it's the way the tone is very Marvel MCU-esque. We don't get too dark. We don't get too, I mean, a lot more lighter in tone, but I don't know, it feels like it doesn't carry as much weight as the films that came before. This one thing the Snyderverse was able to make you feel like that, because it was brought down to a more realistic place, if you will. You felt the dread, you felt the stakes of the film. This one seems like, I don't think anyone really will die, particularly. You know what I'm saying? It felt more Disney, more along the lines of The Little Mermaid, in which it was shot, more like Scorpion King. You know? And that's not a bad thing. You see it's successful. This is what people were claiming they wanted in the beginning. So as time settled, you started hearing whispers about it. But for the most part, I think people are happy with what James Wan had produced in terms of the Aquaman. But I think the undertone of that is, it's a lot lighter. A whole lot lighter. And now as we seen what happened after the Joker, and I gotta do my review on the Joker, a couple conversations I wanted to talk about on the Joker in terms of the film industry and things of that nature. But needless to say, after the Joker, where we have a film that wanted to take things more seriously, and now that the MCU has ended and they're dealing with a lot of changes, they're going through a transitional state because they bookended the Infinity Saga. So we know about, even though it's within the Infinity Saga, the little things surrounding Captain Marvel, the things surrounding things outside of it, what's going on with the internals, like the ideas and all the conversations that's being pushed around it, because the paradigm has been set in culture today. These inclusion and sexism and all these other things are the things of the time that's being talked about. Now Marvel is trying to enter the conversation with it, and they're kind of promoting it a little bit more than, if you ask me, is needed for them. And since you're going through an audience shift in attitudes, when the Joker came in and everybody was trying to say what they were going to say about it, and it turned out to be a good film, and it didn't really push any of those type of narratives, it started to make people feel like, you know what, Marvel, we really feeling what they doing. They trying to deal with darker themes and not being afraid to go there. And what's going around in that kind of conversations about the Snyder Cut and all the things that we missed out on, and people are not forgetting that we were the big reason as a fan base and YouTubers that kind of spoiled what was coming out of it. This is what Zack Snyder was saying about trying to make sure that they carve their own personality. We were going to be serious. We were going to go for the big themes, heavy dread. We're going to aim for the stars. We're going to really shoot. I'm killing Superman now. We doing that story now. Even though I think he could have pushed it, he could have chilled. He was like, you know what? Since they wanted him to go there, he was like, let's fully embrace it, what we're doing, and go for the big stories. And this will also be I have to figure out also in the middle of that how I can give birth to these characters without treading the same line that Marvel did without being formulaic. Why don't we go for the big stories? Who's to say we can't go for the larger stories? Why not in BVS kill Superman? Because now I could get him off the chessboard and I could use Batman. Because that was a real reason. I think he wanted to use Batman to do it. And since we're already bringing an older Batman and saying there's a lot of things that probably existed already, so we don't have to, if we do the Batman now film, we don't need a new Batman. Ben Affleck could bring in as much characters that he could have met along the way. This was supposed to build out the DCEU universe to say that it was already there, the seeds were there. And if you wanted to go back, you actually could have ran a past Batman at the same time running a new one. And they can eventually merge at some point. And you could have told some very, very dynamic stories, very thought-provoking. You could have did so much, especially if you was going to jump out the window with Flashpoint. And then you could have used it to jump through the TV universe, which even though they kind of did it the other way, I think it would have been bigger had the movie shown a glimpse of that first. Just a glimpse. Let people salivate onto it, and then when we did the CW crossover, show Ezra Miller. But we didn't get that opportunity. But like I said, with Aquaman now, lighter tones, everything was done underneath the city, underwater. Now, we didn't really have to deal with the ramifications of what Justice League dealt with. But now, the part 2, what are we going to do? I think this is why they wanted to position themselves to do the trench first. They wanted to put as much space away from the Justice League before they have to deal with the Justice League. They was hoping that probably enough time would have went by that maybe if they wanted to go to Ben Affleck, they could have. If they could plan to put out and spin this whole thing for Zack Snyder, and maybe we could get a theatrical release and omit what came from before. And if we make enough time pass, maybe the fans will be able to embrace it. Who knows? But now, this is a world that's set and it works for Aquaman, this tone. Albeit, if you ask me, I would not have went for this tone because you started off in such a space that I'm not mad at it, but I would hope that the next film they'd actually really, because I felt like the Zack Snyder verse would have gave you the Lord of the Rings version of that, the 300 version of it, very stylized maybe, to give the comic book lovers to really want to get into with the tapestry, the visualizations, but the acting, the actual story would have been very dynamic, very world building, very intricate, very elaborate, very epic. And not to say that the scope of what James Wan did wasn't epic, but the storytelling was very surface level, very Disney if you ask me. The actual story, but well filmed. Well filmed, because there's things I love about it. I really do. It's just that I wanted that deeper sci-fi feeling, and you know what? That's what it is. It was missing that sci-fi element that made it grounded into what we were seeing right now. And that's what I was looking forward to in the DCEU. The logistics behind it that make you really want to invest in this world. But moving forward with Aquaman, we know it's going to be a lighter tone so far as it's set. We're not really exactly sure. I know they want to do the trench, which is supposed to be like a horror version of it. But if you're going to go that route now, where are we going to go? I'm not even sure that they're going to stick with it. Again, we really need to find out what they're going to do. I haven't heard anything about the trench now. So what could they explore now? They could still literally keep the next fight underwater. And that might work. Or bring that world into the Flashpoint so we can see Atlantis and kind of learn a little bit about Atlantis in another alternate version of itself, which I'm sure a lot of it will be true to who Atlantis is anyway, and still be able to have some fun with it. Now we could do anything because it's Flashpoint. We could change that out. But the Aquaman movie, that's the question. If they're going to introduce Flash and do Flashpoint in the first movie, are they going to get it out the way first? Or they're going to, and what's going to happen after that? Is that supposed to really be the reset to the universe? If you ask me, I don't think that the DCEU is sure. There's so much that we could consider right now. And if they're going to do the trench, what would that mean for the next film going forward with Aquaman? I think the trench is supposed to be a buffer, basically a placeholder, till they figure out where they're going to go. I think there's a big missing link that they're looking for, and it could be this the Snyder cut of the Justice League, or, as Grace Rudolph says, it could have something to do with Wonder Woman. Maybe somewhere, if the leaks are true, in wishing things, maybe there's a ripple effect, or maybe the wish in it of itself. Who knows? Who knows? What we do know is that they haven't really said too much about where we're going with Aquaman as it stands, and the question is, when will we? All we know is that what was supposed to be slated first is the trench, and then next up was going to be Aquaman. I think that's supposed to be in 2022 or 23. The trench might be 2021 or 22. And if it's 2021, you should be hearing something very soon. And I know it's supposed to be a horror film, so maybe it'll be a smaller film so they can get a good turnaround real quick if they're working on it. Now, we don't know. Until then, let me know what you guys think. Where do you think they will go or should go with Aquaman? Leave it in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a good outro. Cheers.